Hey singers, I love coming here every week to show you and tell you how to improve your singing so that you can feel more confident and enjoy it more. Now this week, I'm going to show you in pictures exactly what I'm talking about. Before I do, I want to mention to you that I'm going to be having a workshop next Sunday, November 14th. I'll put details on tickets and more information down in the description box. But this is going to be a session on how to Messiah. We're going to cover all of the elements of vocal technique that can help you get through that performance, handling the runs with ease, not worrying about tuning, and having stamina to last right until the end of Worthy as the Lamb. So I hope that you'll join me. Please check the description box and also make sure you sign up for the newsletter to get a discount on your ticket. This is the weekly warm-up, where every week I share free exercises to help you grow your vocal technique and know your voice better. Okay, so here we are. You may have noticed that we are in a different location today. This is my office in the basement of the National Cathedral, and these pictures here are on a whiteboard that I use quite often in my private teaching, but I have not cleaned it since I vacated this office before the pandemic. So these are sort of really inked on, and it's part of my plan for the day to do a little housekeeping and try to remove these pictures. But before I do, I want to show them to you because I really think that seeing an illustrated version of exactly the anatomy I'm talking about. Well, we're not really getting specific with anatomy, but parts of the body and parts of the head specifically, so that you can really see exactly what I'm talking about when I ask you to do things like lift your palate or sing in the top half of your head. So here we're going to really get visual with exactly the indications I've been giving you in the exercises I teach online. Let's begin with this picture that's right behind me. So here we've got a head in profile. I hope you can tell that's a head. The nose is here and it's pointing this way. And what I've drawn is just two lines bisecting the head vertically and horizontally so that you can see that the head is in 4 quadrants. So you can imagine in your own head, front and back, and then top and bottom. And I often think that when you're in the heat of the moment and singing, it can be difficult to keep track of so many different physical coordinations. Palate, mask, dome space, the tongue, the throat. There's just a lot going on. And it is often a very good shortcut to good placement to really think I'm going to stay in the top front quadrant of my head. Now, oftentimes we can sense when we fall out of that resonance. For example, if as you go up into the high register, maybe you experience something like this. You see I've got that sort of train whistle sound on the top? Well, I fell back here, right? The sound fell backward in its placement. But rather than thinking, did I let my palate drop? Did I move my tongue? What I was really able to sense automatically was I was in the top back of my head. So something that you can often ask yourself is, where is this sound happening? And if it's happening in the top back, the bottom front, or worst of all, the bottom back, then you want to just try and redirect up into that top front quadrant, right where the star is. Now let's move to this second picture, and this one's just a little bit more detailed. It's another head in profile. And now what I've drawn for you here is the palate. So I want you to take a tour of your mouth with me, with your tongue. So feel right behind your top teeth, right along the roof of the mouth. Starting at the front, if you move your tongue back along the roof of your mouth, you'll feel a sort of ridgy, bumpy part. Feel that? That's called the alveolar ridge. And that's what I've drawn here as this squiggly line. And then there's a smooth part. And then there's a little hard bump. This is really of varying sizes, so you may feel it. It might be really sizable, or you may have almost none at all. But I have a little kind of a bony protrusion there. And then behind that, the soft palate. So gradually, I start to feel there's a little more flexiness in that palate back there. Now, this is interesting to know, and oftentimes I will direct you to aim your sound here at the highest part of the hard palate. So that's right on the front edge of that bump, or right kind of on that smooth part. But here, what this drawing is showing particularly is two options for the way the soft palate can move. You may have received the advice at some point to think of yawning as you sing. This is often handed out in choral rehearsals as a good way to get more headiness on the tone. The problem is though, first just try yawning. This big circular line that goes up and out the back of the head is sort of the sensation that I have in my head when I open the soft palate in that way. I feel a stretching that sort of blouses up and out, and definitely in a sort of backward direction. Now, if we lift that yawn space in that way, and then try to sing, what we will do is end up back here. The sound, from my taste, is a little back in its resonance. It doesn't have enough ping, and it is also really exhausting because I'm just having to pump so much air. It's not an efficient or clear sound. So what I would often recommend, if we want that sense of lift and dome without the sort of backward yawniness, is to think of moving the soft palate in a slightly different way, a sort of tuck forward, and that's what I'm indicating here. Now, obviously, the motion you feel won't be that extreme. It's very possible that you're unused to feeling anything at all here in the palate. So really kind of be curious about what you're sensing here. And if you feel something quite slight, you're absolutely onto the right thing. But there are all different kinds of ways you can trigger this sort of front, forward, upward tuck. 3 of them that I use quite often here on the channel are that lip over movement that was in a recent video. You might feel something kind of back there that's plucking upward. That is this motion. Also, 2 other ways that you might feel it are if you just smoosh up all the flesh on the front of your face. I also feel something there. Or if I grab the upper lip and lift it upward, I always say that's like checking a horse's teeth. You kind of lift upward and forward. And there I feel something also along the kind of edge of back there. I feel something that sort of seems to lift upward, but definitely in a way that's toward the nose, not out the back of my head in this yawny way. So that's what I have to show you today. No specific exercise, but I hope that visualizing these ideas of staying in the top front quadrant and also moving the soft palate in a way that tucks up and forward rather than up and out and back in a yawny way will benefit your singing today. If you have questions, please let me know in the comments. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you at the workshop next week. For now, thank you for practicing.